Welcome back to Grammar Grade 9. This is Unit 4, Lesson 26, and today we're going to take a whole clause, a group of words with its own subject and verb, and put it to work as a single describing word. That's the adjective clause. It lets you fold a lot of detail neatly inside one sentence, and once you see how it hooks onto a noun, you'll spot these everywhere. Let's dig in. Let's begin with a clear definition. An adjective clause is a subordinate clause that modifies a noun. Now, that word subordinate matters. A subordinate clause has its own subject and its own verb, yet it can't stand alone as a sentence. And here's the key idea. This whole clause does an adjective's job. It describes a noun or a pronoun, telling us which one or what kind. So instead of a single describing word, you have a whole clause acting as one adjective. How do you spot one? Most adjective clauses begin with a special connecting word called a relative pronoun. The relative pronouns are who, whom, whose, that, and which. A clause can also open with where or when, words that here act as subordinating conjunctions. Whatever the opener, its job is the same. It hooks the clause onto the noun it describes, tying the two together. Let's see one at work. Look at this sentence. The book that I lent him is now overdue. The clause here is that I lent him. Notice it has a subject, the word I, and a verb, the word lent. So it truly is a clause. But it can't stand on its own. Say those words by themselves and you're left hanging. That's why we call it subordinate. And what is the clause doing? It points right back at the noun book, telling us which book we mean. This whole group of words modifies the noun book, and that makes it an adjective clause. Here's something that trips people up. Start with the full version. The book that I lent him is now overdue. Now watch what happens. We can shorten it to, the book I lent him is now overdue. In that second sentence, the relative pronoun that has simply been dropped. It sounds perfectly natural, doesn't it? But make no mistake, the adjective clause is still there, still modifying the noun book. The connecting word is just understood, hiding quietly between the lines. Now for one of the most useful distinctions in all of grammar. Some adjective clauses are essential. You cannot remove them without changing the meaning. Look, the player who batted last scored the winning run. The clause who batted last is doing critical work. It tells us exactly which player we're talking about. Take it away and you're left with the player scored the winning run. But which player? The meaning slips. Because the clause is essential, we use no commas at all. It narrows the noun down, so we keep it locked in tight. Other adjective clauses are non-essential. They add extra information you could lift right out. Here's Jerome. Jerome, who batted last, is the best player. We already know exactly who Jerome is. His name pins him down all by itself. The clause who batted last just adds a bonus detail. Because it's non-essential, we fence it off with a pair of commas. And the proof? Lift it out. Jerome is the best player. And the sentence still stands, complete and clear. Let's turn all of this into a quick two-step check. Step 1. Does the clause modify a noun or pronoun? If it does, you found an adjective clause. Step 2. Can you remove it without wrecking the meaning? If you can, it's non-essential. Set it off with commas. If you can't, it's essential. No commas needed. Remember the difference this way. An essential clause keeps the meaning, while a non-essential clause simply adds extra. Master that, and commas will stop being a mystery. Ready to practice? Let's practice. In this first set, I'll give you a sentence, and your job is to pick out the adjective clause, the group of words that modifies a noun. Pause the video and try each one before I reveal the answer. The house that we rented sits by the lake. Which words form the adjective clause? The clause that we rented sits right after house and tells us which house we mean. So the adjective clause is that we rented. Students who study early feel calmer. Look for the clause that describes the noun. The words who study early tell us which students, modifying the noun students. So the adjective clause is who study early. The song I love came on the radio. This one is tricky because the relative pronoun is missing, but the words I love still form an adjective clause modifying song. You could say the song that I love. So the adjective clause is I love. Now a different challenge. In this second set, each sentence contains an adjective clause. Decide whether it's essential, needing no commas, or non-essential, set off by commas. Pause and try each before I answer. My brother, who lives in Peru, called last night. Ask yourself, do you need the clause to know which brother? No, the clause who lives in Peru just adds a detail, and it's already fenced by commas. So this one is non-essential. The car that has the dent is mine. Which car is mine? The one with the dent. The clause that has the dent tells us exactly which one. Remove it and you don't know which car. There are no commas because the clause is essential. Mount Everest, which is the tallest peak, draws climbers. The name Mount Everest already tells us exactly which mountain, so the clause, which is the tallest peak, is just bonus information set off by commas. That makes it non-essential. Let's gather up what we learned. An adjective clause is a subordinate clause. It has its own subject and verb, yet it can't stand alone. And its whole job is to modify a noun or a pronoun. It usually begins with a relative pronoun, like who, whom, whose, that, or which, or with where or when. And sometimes that opening word is quietly left out. And the big payoff for your writing? An essential clause, which changes the meaning, takes no commas, while a non-essential clause, which only adds extra, gets fenced off with commas. Nail that, and your sentences will describe with real precision. Great work today. I'll see you in the next lesson.